Good Saturday afternoon to you. I wanted to bring you today on Amazon Live a fun little project using watercolor. So, this is the project that I did using watercolor, and I'm going to be using a special watercolor set and showing you how to mix the colors. The paints we're going to be working with for this project are Holbein, HWC means Holbein Watercolors. These are 5 milliliter tubes. Let me show you what they look like. So that's what one of the tubes looks like. And I am going to take you over top of the table in just a moment to do the project. But I wanted to show you that inside the box that comes with those paints is a little brochure from Holbein. And what I love about it is it gives you all the details about the information that's on the tubes that are in the box. So that can be very helpful. It can come in very handy for you when you're painting with these paints. Now, I recommend these Holbein, the 12 set, the 18 set, the 24 set, the regular colors for my students because they're excellent grade and they come out looking just the colors for the mixes are brilliant and fabulous. So I can't wait to show you those. Ah, so we are going to go over top of the table and then I will describe for you as we go through the project the different products that I will be using. And let's have a little painting fun for this Saturday afternoon. I'm going to take you over top of the table now. Good, good, good. All right. So what you're seeing here is the swatches. So that means that I took the colors that were in here and I swatch them out. If you go to my storefront on Amazon, I do have a video where I show myself swatching these out. And these are the brilliant colors. They're absolutely gorgeous, super luminous and excellent. Like I said, nice clean color, excellent for color mixing. Then another thing that we're going to be using is this, we're going to be painting on this same paper. And this is the Winsor and Newton watercolor paper. It's 140 pounds and it's 100% cotton. So it is an excellent paper for both your playing, like you saw with my color swatches, and finished artworks as well. An excellent paper for that. This particular pad has 15 pages in it. And of course, you can get it larger than this size, which is 5 by 7. We're going to be working on this. It's a cold press, so it has a little texture to it, watercolor paper. And then here, this is actually a Corel plate. So I don't know if y'all have ever seen Corel or worked with Corel. I love the Corel the plates, and this happens to be a serving, what they call a serving tray, and it is 10.5 inches long, but I find it's perfect for color mixing. So we're going to be using in there some of the color mixing colors here. So I'm going to pull out, this is a set of 12. I'm going to pull out 4 of them that we're going to work with. So that's the permanent yellow. This is Crimson Lake. We're going to use this Viridian hue and we're going to use the cobalt blue hue. So I will show you how to mix those to get the purple and the orange and some fun greens. Now let me go ahead and show you also that I'm going to be using a Princeton Velvet Touch brush. This one is a size 8 and it has the long bristles to them. So this is one of my favorite all-around brushes for testing with watercolors. So we're going to be using that. Also, we this is a small painting. It's something that you can do with tweens and teens, and it's just a really fun fall project. So the size of it fits into a mat. This is a 4 by 4 hole in an 8 by 8 mat. These are great because they fit right into an 8 by 8 frame, but they will take artworks that are approximately, a little bigger than a 4 by 4. So isn't that cute? Those are so cute. So what I do in order to get this to fit on this paper is I take the mat and I put it over top of the paper and make sure it's about in the middle. And then I'm going to make some marks on the paper. So my favorite pencils for making marks, and you can see this one is ancient, is the Staedtler pencils. I like the Staedtler Mars Lumograph pencils. And what you'll find about these pencils is that the HB is directly in the middle. So H is for hard and B is for soft. So we've got your HB, your HB, 2H, 3H, 4H in here. And then you have a 2B. This is the same kind of pencil that you would use in school, a graphite pencil. And then 3, 5, 6. So you have another section of them going softer. So the softer pencils are darker when you draw with them, and the harder pencils are lighter when you draw with them. So we're going to use this typical 2B pencil. So that means you can use any pencil that you have at home will work for this. And what I'm going to do is give myself some guidelines here so that I know approximately where I want my pumpkin to go. I want my artwork to stay inside those lines or not. And there. Now we're not going to, when it comes time, we're not going to cut we're not going to cut this to this size. What we're going to do instead is we want to cut it out here on a larger size, so that way we have enough to tape into our mat, right? Because this hole is where the artwork will be showing. Let me put the pencil away. And also, I love the Mars, the Staedtler again, Mars, these white plastic erasers. As you can see, mine is quite used up. Now, what a lot of artists, watercolor artists, will do, you'll notice here that 2B gives you quite a dark line. So oftentimes you don't want that dark line to show. So I'm going to lightly go over it, enough so that I can still see it for my painting purposes, but I don't want it to be quite so dark. So I'm going to do this, and that will give you your outlines that you as the artist can see, but hopefully when you put it into the mat, nobody else will see it. So we're going to put that pencil and the eraser away. Now, when I mix these colors, I need to test them on something before I go to my artwork to be sure when I'm mixing colors that I have the right color for what I'm working with. So this is a piece of paper that's not as expensive as this. It is not 100% cotton, but it's perfect for me to be able to see what the color is going to be before I go onto my cotton paper. And the paper that I'm using for that is this one. It is the Canson XL watercolor paper. This happens to be the 9 by 12 size, but all the Canson XL watercolor papers are 140 pounds, and it's very economical. 30 sheets come in this pack. It is a cold press paper, so it has a similar texture to this Winsor & Newton paper, and you can cut the pieces up, and it's more economical to use that for your paper or your paint testing. Okay, so let me uh, we talked about the brush. This is a brush rest. I have one at this table and one at my other table. I have two tables here in my studio. And so this is so that I can keep the top of the brush up off the table when I'm painting. And that way it doesn't roll around on me. So I have those in my studio. And then the other thing we're going to work with here is the water container. So this is a Click and Go by Faber-Castell. I know that there are other brands out there as well, but I do use that one in my studio. And it comes in different colors. If you don't like the turquoise blue, then there are other options. And then for a paper towel, I'm using my favorite, which are the Viva paper towels, the Viva cloth like paper towel. So what I like about it is it doesn't have a pattern on it. so that if I go and I need to pick up some paint like this, there's no pattern. So it's not going to transfer a pattern onto my artwork. It's more like a woven piece of cloth. So these are what I buy for my studio is the signature cloth paper towels. All right. Then one last thing, I usually will just paint loose like this, right directly onto the paper, keeping in mind those lines here. But some people like to tape off their paper instead. And then that way they don't worry about what's going out onto the edges of their painting. And so this is the Holbein soft tape. Now, what's nice is it comes with a little tab here so you know where to start it. That's helpful, right? And then what I would do is this is a nice tape that's easy to also remove. So I'm going just outside those lines that I created and putting that down on the paper, and that will allow me to protect the rest of the paper if that's what I want to do. So that's one side, and then it's a soft tape, so it will come back up pretty easily. Let's go ahead and put this tape here. There, another piece. But this will be a beautiful, easy tape to come up. One of the problems if you try to use a regular masking tape instead of an artist tape, even I find sometimes the blue painter's tape, it doesn't always come off of your watercolor paper cleanly. And this is made by Holbein, the same company that makes these paints. And so it is designed to come back off of the paper easily. So here we go, like this. Nice. All right, so now I've got that area taped off. You're going to want to make sure to go around the inside edges here so that you have a firm grip. Nice. So now I don't have to worry if I splash around the outside. Let's take, no, I'm going to start by getting my brush wet here. And just the nice thing about this cup is it has the petals or the ridges on the edge, so I can put my brush right there while I'm working. Let's go ahead, and the first thing that I want to do is I want to create the pumpkin itself. So we want some oranges, right? We want some reds and some oranges. So I like to start lighter and then work darker. So we're going to make this very luminous. And let me put this over here. Let's see, where can I put that so you can see it as we work? Right there, nice. So I'm going to put some yellow out on the tray here, just like this. And I'm actually going to need some more yellow when we're making our greens. So I'm going to put some more yellow over here because we're going to need it for oranges and we're going to need it for greens. So that's the yellow. And then I'm going to take some of this Crimson Lake color and put that in there over here. There we go. Now the Crimson Lake by itself is too dark. So let me show you that. I have some water on here. I'm just going to take a little bit of that so I can show you that if I were to try to work with the Crimson Lake, you see how it's kind of a magenta color. We don't want that. But what we want is we want an orange. So we're going to combine that Crimson Lake together with the yellow to get an orange. So right now I want a lighter orange. So I want more yellow than I have crimson so that I have a very pale orange. There we go. That crimson is just, whoo, man, strong. Okay, there we go. So now we've got, I'm keeping my brush nice and wet because we just want a light version of the pumpkin. So we're going to draw in the pumpkin. Now, some people like to sketch first. I generally just go straight to the paper. And so let me do this. This one, if you'll notice, it has 5 sections to it. So I like to work in 3s, 5s, 7s, like that. So I'm going to put this, instead of it being even and having Some people like to put the largest section in the front, but I like to put the largest section off to the side. So maybe it's to the left or to the right, either one. And you don't have to fill the whole area either. Leave yourself some white space, a little bit of grace there. That is okay. And we're not going to make it flat on the bottom. We need the bottom to be a little bit rounded. So let's just put some of that. We're just creating the basic outline of our pumpkin right now. So let's bring this one down and around. Like I said, don't worry if you're leaving white spaces, that's fine. There's plenty of time to clean those up and add color or not. I like having white space in my artwork. You can see here, see that white space? Yeah, I love that. Okay, and then we're gonna put another one here. And like I said, don't bring them together, kind of let them have a little bit of separation here. And then that's four. But for the purposes of balancing our artwork, I'm going to throw another one in there. So we're going to do another one out here like that. I'm also looking at the side by side to be sure that I'm getting it nice and uh, that it's going to have kind of the right shape to fill in the area where I have. I'm going to leave a little room at the bottom for a shadow, and I'm going to leave some room at the top for the stem. There we go. So there is the pumpkin. Nice. So that's an excellent beginning. It's 5 sections. Let me bring it up closer for you so that you can see. So it's 5 sections there. Lots of white space, some touching, some not touching. It doesn't matter. Now we're going to go for a darker color. So what does that mean? We're going to take some yellow, but then we're going to add more of that crimson in there, right? So now we're getting a much more dramatic orange. Nice. And now we can come in, and the areas where it's going to be darkest are right where these ridges meet here and down near the bottom, right? So I'm going to bring the darker in here, bring some of it in here. Now, it doesn't have to just be right there. I'm making marks as I go. Okay. So, yes, you could do it just solid. That would be fine. But I like to add some extra interest in there with little marks. Now, I also got something here called dry brush. That means instead of using the tip of the brush, I use the side of the brush to get these fun marks right here. Okay, let's keep going with that nice dark color. And I'm going to bring some this way as well. There we go. And down along the bottom here, some more along here. Remember, you can always come back and make some adjustments. You don't worry, just have fun. To me in particular, art is a lot of it is about just relaxing and having a good time. So there we go. A little bit more of the dark down there. And let's bring some dark in here. So we're getting a little bit of dimension in there and some variation. Now I'm noticing this is darker than over here. So I'm going to just add a little more crimson in and darken this a little bit more. Okay, great. Awesome. Nice. So we're just having fun, y'all. Okay. Now, what you're going to notice in this pumpkin is that there's some dark, dark, dark spaces in there. We're going to do that once we've created our green. We're going to add some of our green in with the orange, and we're going to darken along the seams. Okay. So right now, you can't necessarily see where the seams are. It's just one big mass of orange, but we're going to fix that in just a little bit. Plus, I want to bring this up just a little bit more, make it kind of fun, get a little bit of difference in there. There we go. Now I'm going to create, a direction that the light is coming in. So I'm going to be putting the stem facing that direction and a leaf facing this way. And I want to determine where's the light coming from. Is it coming from over here or over here? So right now I'm going to follow along with the one that I already did, and the light is coming from over here. So I actually created this lightness by picking up some of the color. I'm going to just add some water in here, and then I'm picking up like this, picking up some of that color. So you can put the color down and then pull it back out. And I'm making sure there's plenty of water there so that what'll happen is it'll create a really fun bloom, it's called. So I did it there. I'm going to do it up here and just keep pulling away the color. I love these paints, this Holbein set. Like I said, I recommend it to my students because it's excellent quality paint and it's going to do what it's supposed to do or what you want it to do when you're doing techniques like this. Now, you can also take your paper towel while it's still damp and go in and pull some of the color off as well. So that's the light is hitting up here. So I'm also going to do some right here and pull that color off and leave a cute little puddle. And that way the puddle will give me this really neat diffused edge. Okay, plenty of water on there. All right, good. And then I can pull some of the water back off if I want to, like that. But the idea is this side of the pumpkin's where the light's coming from. And so I want those areas up there to be a little bit lighter. Now let's create some greens. So we're going to be using the yellow. And this viridian hue is a special pigment. It's the pigment PG7. And I love PG7 for color mixing. It's actually a very artificial looking color. Let me show you. So PG7, that they call it the viridian hue, is very much an artificial green. So do you see that there? Let me put it on the paper and bring it up for you. You see how artificial that looks and how sort of, wow, it looks almost like a neon blue green, right? It's, I don't find it good to use by itself, but I love mixing it with other colors. So if we take some of this viridian that's crazy, crazy looking, and we add yellow to it, let's see what happens. Ah, instantly we get a spring green. So let me show you. You see the spring green? That's kind of unexpected, right? But you end up with a spring green, and then the more of that PG7 that you add into it, the darker it will get. And normally I would make a green, or you're taught in school to make a green with your blues. So here's a cobalt blue. Let's put this one here. I love this cobalt blue for color mixing. It is just beautiful. And then if I take this yellow, some of this yellow, and some of this blue, which would be your more traditional, you're going to see that the color has more olive, more of an olive feel to it. Can you see that? So that PG7, that Viridian, gave me what is called a higher key or a brighter green, and the more traditional blue is giving me a darker or more muted green. So we can use both of them. We don't have to use just the one. So I have this darker green right now, and I'm going to use that to create this stem. So I'm just going to come over here. I'm going to try not to touch the wetness of the orange right here, okay? You can always go back in once it's dry and add some more in that area. And then what else does a stem have? It usually will have like a little area where it sort of broke off, and then it'll come back down here into the pumpkin, right? So that is the stem area right there. And then you want some curly cues that come off of that. Oops, too much water on my brush. If there's too much water, you can tap the brush like that and it'll get some of that water out of there. So I like to come in and the nice thing about this particular brush, the Velvet Touch, long long with the long bristles, they call it the long round, is that you can do these, the tip gets very sharp, so you can do these beautiful curly cues. Aren't they fun? They are so fun. Now this area over here is dry, so I'm actually going to take this and I'm going to do another curly cue right over top of that where it's dry already. Okay, like that. So you can put a few little curly cues on there, and I'm going to add a little more into the stem. And then we want to do a leaf. So for the leaf, I'm actually going to do a combination of this bright green and the darker green here. So I want sort of a mid-tone green. There we go. So just mixing those together. And now I'm going to throw a leaf in here. So the leaf is partly behind the pumpkin, is the way I designed it. So I'm just going to give myself a guideline to the center of the leaf. And then I'm going to bring it and do little hops to the leaf, the parts where the leaf sort of sticks out, right? Like that. And fill that in a little bit. And then come back over here and give myself those little, this leaves have some little pointy edges to them. So part of the leaf is back behind the pumpkin. All right. And that actually needs to dry for just a moment so that I can come back and put the lines in it. Notice I didn't fill the whole thing in. You can either fill the whole thing in or not fill the whole thing in. Now that leaf is quite light, but the stem is kind of dark, right? Well, I still have the light green here on my brush, so I'm going to bring the light green in and mingle it together with that dark green so that we can get these two, the stem and the leaf, to kind of talk to each other like that. Okay, now I'm beginning to get this beautiful, can you see the way the edges where that water was is feathering? I love that. I love that. Love, love, love that. Okay, so now what I want to do at this point, I actually want to assume that there's a little bit of light right up here. So I'm going to pull, to give that extra dimension, I'm going to pull a little bit of that green and just have water on here. I'm going to pull a little bit of that green off of the stem, right? Because that will give us the light coming from over here, and it gives the stem a little bit of more dimension to it. Now, we're going to go down into the middle of these various sections to define the pumpkin a little bit more there. And so I want to use a green, but I'm going to kind of put it together with a little bit of this orange that I made earlier. And I don't want it to be too green because I'm creating a shadow, but I want it to be to sort of blend well with the orange that I had there before. So this is why I love this tray, because you see all the area that you have here for color mixing is just fantastic. Okay, so now I've got kind of a muted green that's a combination of my greens and some of that orange. And I'm going to come in here, and this is just for the purpose of sort of defining the darkness where that is. And if it's not dark enough, pull in a little bit more of the darkness there and just bring it down. And you're just creating a little bit of a shadow just for fun. It doesn't have to be anything too crazy. This is more of a fun type project. We're not trying to have it look exactly like nature. This is just an opportunity to sit down, play with a limited number of colors, and get a fun fall painting done. Okay, here's where we had another section right here. So I'm just putting it over. Everything down here is going to be a little bit darker in that bottom section, right? And we're sort of defining our shapes with that. Let's just bring this out here just a little bit more. And if you put some there and you say, gosh, that's a little too much, remember we can always go back and pull the color back out, right? So let's do this here. And then, yeah, we've got more of that green coming in here and some more darkness. Now this side, because the light is over here, I want the darkness over here to be a little bit more. And that's why if I bring this up, I added what I feel like is too much darkness over here because the light is supposed to be shining here. So I can just go in. Because it's a 100% cotton paper, it'll perform beautifully and do things like what I'm doing now. It'll let you lift the color back up and massage the color as you're painting, which is fabulous. Now I'm going to go a little bit darker over here because of course, the light's coming from over here. Okay, fun. Now, this is dry, so I can come back up here and start defining that a little bit more. And I'm going to take the dark color that we made using the blue and yellow, and I'm going to put in my veins. So I'm just going to put a vein in the leaf right there. And but it needs to be dry. If it's not dry, what'll happen is these little lines that I'm making will go bleh all over the place. Okay, so if you want the lines to show in your leaf like that, then you need to make sure that the leaf is dry when you're doing that. Okay, now let's go ahead and pop in the shadow right here. And you're like, well, Tristina, how the heck are we going to get purple? We're going to use that crimson and the blue. So I'm going to just use my paper towel and I'm going to give myself a little space here so that I can make a purple. And you see why I love this plate? Ah, it's so easy. It is so easy to do that. Okay, so now we're going to create a purple. And I'm going to take some of the crimson right here, put it up here. And then I'm going to take some of that blue. Let's see if I can get it out of here without the yellow. So, let me lift up that blue and put it with the crimson, and we will have a purple lickety split, just like that. We have a beautiful, gorgeous purple. What? I know, it's crazy. So that was the crimson and the cobalt blue. Oh my gosh, great purple. Now that's quite dark, so what I'm going to do is add a lot of water to it in order to get it to be a little less like crazy in your face. Now, I noticed that in this particular artwork, it has a little more red in it. You see how that purple's a little more red? So if you want it to be a little more red, you just add a little more of the crimson and the color will turn a little more toward the red, or it can be a little toward the blue. Isn't that fun? And so now I've got that. If I want to see what the color looks like, what do? I use the lesser expensive paper right here. Ooh, that's a nice shadow color right there. And so I'm going to come in with that shadow. I want to make sure that I have plenty of water on my brush. And the light is coming from over here, so the shadow is going to fall over there, right? So I'm going to go ahead. There's going to be a little bit of shadow here. And then there's going to be some shadow falling over. Most of the shadow is going to fall over this way, right? So we just drop in our purple. If it's a little too dark and you want some variation in it, just grab water on your brush and come in and pick some of that up, and then you'll get some variation in the color, right? You can even what I like to do is I will darken just a little bit of it. So I'll take a little bit of it here and I'll add some more blue to it so I get it just a little bit darker. And then I'll take that darker version and I'll go right up next to the pumpkin here. And what that does is that gives me a little bit of a darker edge right at the bottom there. So isn't that fun? That is so much fun. Okay, and then of course you want to sign it. You can pick whatever color you want for signing it. Maybe I'll make a little bit more orange here on the plate and I'll give it a signature. Oh, beautiful brushes, just beautiful. And down because see that tip? Woo, I call it a snappy tip. So I can just come in here now and I can sign my name. I'll pull it up close to you in just a second so you can see how incredibly detailed you can get with the lines. So you see how tiny that is right there, my signature? And that's by using the tip of this brush. Ah, it's so nice. And then let's go ahead and pull the tape off. Woo. Usually I wait until it's dry to pull the tape off, but hey, we're just about done here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the tape off. There we go. It's the Holbein, which is the same company as the paints that I'm showing you today, Holbein soft tape. And it is a dream to remove from your paper. You're not going to tear your paper. It's awesome. So wasn't that fun? Quick, easy to do, a few watercolor techniques for you, and that will is something that you can do with, like I said, teens or tweens. And again, this is the mat that I was talking about. So you see how you would take the mat and it would just go right there and it would look so cute for your holiday, your fall holidays or gift giving, of course. And I wanted to thank you then for watching my show. I hope you enjoyed it.